What up, everybody? Let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, but more specifically, let's talk about Ja Morant because Ja Morant has had some speed bumps come up in his career so far, his young career. And a lot of people thought that was going to totally derail him as a player and as a professional athlete. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Ja Morant was suspended hold on. He was suspended on two different occasions. The first occasion, I believe he was suspended for, I think, like 5 games. And then the second occasion, he was suspended for 25 games. But if you are not aware, or you do not remember, let me catch you up to speed here. These suspensions came down on Ja Morant by Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, due to Ja Morant's off-the-court behavior. So the first incident occurred after the Grizzlies had played the Denver Nuggets, and Ja Morant and presumably his camp or other players from the Grizzlies or both winded up at an establishment known as Shotgun Willie's, which is a gentleman's club in Colorado. And Ja Morant, I can't remember if he went live on Instagram or if he posted a video on his story. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but there was video footage that came out that was posted, I believe, by Ja, of him in the club with some weaponry. And Adam Silver did not like that. Adam Silver has, I shouldn't even say Adam Silver because he hasn't even been commissioner that long, but Adam Silver and his predecessor, David Stern, have, frequently had a no tolerance policy when it comes to violence or drug abuse or anything of the sort. Whether it be in the locker room, on the court, off the court, what have you, it's not going to be tolerated because not only is it not safe and not good for the people involved in whatever situation is going on, but it's a very bad image to show to the fans of the NBA. And the NBA has been growing rapidly over the last 10 years. So this obviously is something that a lot of people are going to hear about and see. So, and obviously Ja Morant is not some scrub. He's not some, fringe player in the league. He's that guy. And kids look up to him. A lot of basketball players look up to him. And he's got to be a role model. So Adam Silver took it upon himself to be like, this is not a tolerable incident, so you're suspended. So fast forward now, I believe the second offense came during the off season, following the season where the first offense occurred. There was probably a distance of several months between the two incidents. So the second instance came with one of Ja Morant's friends, who I don't think has any sort of affiliation to the league, went live on Instagram of him and Ja listening to some music in a car. I believe Ja was driving. And this friend of his winded up turning the camera over to Ja, and Ja once again had some weaponry in his hand. So there was a lot of controversy surrounding this one because it's not necessarily illegal to possess a firearm in the location where this video was filmed. I believe they were in Tennessee at the time. So Tennessee's laws regarding firearms are obviously a lot different than some of the other states in the country. And there was a lot of, back and forth on, he wasn't doing anything illegal. What's the problem? And it's not about that. It's not about if he's doing something illegal or not. It's about the fact that the NBA has an image, and the NBA has a huge following. And with the amount of kids that watch the NBA and, idolize players, this is not a good thing to be promoting. And the NBA is not some like public organization. It's, they have their own set of rules and guidelines. And granted, a lot of these players are making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars a year. So if you're getting paid that much money, like if you work at a company, like if I went into work tomorrow and my boss follows me on Instagram and sees that I'm, posting some crazy shit on there, they might be able to be like, hey, like, don't do this. They might send you a warning first, but, if it's a private organization, you kind of have to adjust to their guidelines, or you got to find something else that fits you. So, right, like with the NBA, it's not like Ja Morant is going to go and just like play in China or overseas or whatever because he's like, nah, like Adam Silver's like crushing my vibe. Like, no, like the money that he's going to make in the NBA is a lot different than if he was going to play overseas, right? So he's not going to do that. So in turn, he's got to adapt, right? And that could mean that he's actually adapting and, trying to live in a better way and promote better things and really live that as his truth, or just means he's got to hide it better, right? So who knows? I personally think it's probably just going to be, trying to hide it a little bit better. But I don't know, right? And I like Ja Morant a lot. So I think he's hopefully going to make the right decision and just kind of separate those types of things from himself, surround himself with better people, and just, learn from this and make sure it doesn't happen again. Because if it happens again, there's, he might get banned from the NBA. So he's really got to be careful. But so I wanted to just say all of this to preface what I actually wanted to talk about, which is, can Ja Morant still be a leader for an NBA team? And can he still be a leader for this Memphis Grizzlies team? So obviously, without him there this year, because when he was dealing with the suspension, he wasn't on the bench. He couldn't be there to root his team on. And then, obviously he played 9 games, and then he, underwent season-ending surgery, I believe on his shoulder. I can't recall the exact injury, but I believe it was his shoulder. But you guys see the difference where they went from being the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, which is a tough position to attain. Granted, they lost in the first round to the Lakers, but losing to LeBron James it doesn't really matter what seed you're at. To be completely honest, you always have a chance to lose when you're playing up against, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time. So I think it's apparent now that obviously the combination of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart, I guess, you're not a contending team at that point. But you add Ja Morant into that mix, and it's a night and day difference. Like, I would almost go to say that, like, Ja being absent from the Grizzlies was, like, almost kind of similar to, like, when LeBron left the Cavs. Like, the Cavs went from a top-seeded team in the Eastern Conference to quite literally being the worst team in the league and going on an incredibly long losing streak that set records at the time. And, obviously it's not on that level, especially because Ja is still signed to the team. He's coming back. But he is such a difference maker. But I really do think that all these events that have occurred could cause some problems, because if he's really changed his ways and he's going to educate the younger guys that are coming in, like Zach Edey, like, how certain things go and making sure that they don't make the same mistakes that he did, I think things will be fine. So I do think he can still be a leader. And I think that's the thing that he really needs to improve on, because the talent's there. The athleticism's there. The wow factor, the X factor, whatever you want to call it, all of that is there. Ja Morant is basically where Derrick Rose left off. And if he can continue to improve and avoid injuries and just be who he is on the court, he's going to be a problem. And he probably has a greater chance than anybody to bring the Grizzlies the first title that they've ever had. But he's got to be a leader. He's got to be a leader. And frankly, I think, bringing some vets in wouldn't be a bad option. Because, looking at this team, they're a really young team, and I think they've lacked leadership. And I think they've had bad influences existing in their locker room. At a certain point, I would say Ja Morant was one of them. I don't want to say that he still is because I want to give him a chance. But Dylan Brooks was absolutely a bad influence, and just showing how arrogance is not confidence. Arrogance is something that will bring you down, will not boost you up, whereas confidence is a good thing to have. Arrogance is not a good thing to have. So if Ja Morant can figure it out and, be that leader and make sure, he has the ability to get his teammates to listen to him and trust in him and believe in him, I think they've got what it takes. But it's gonna be interesting to see this coming season, is Ja gonna be able to, control what's going on? And it's crazy because it's just I feel like these two guys from the 2019 draft class, him and Zion, are just they're getting into much different shit, but they're both just having these weird off the court issues that they don't need to have. And I think it's, again, I mentioned this in my video about Zion, but I think they just have different issues, obviously, but they have a similar issue of being these very young guys. They're both under 25, and they have a lot of money. They're off the rookie deal now. They've signed bigger deals. And, when you have a lot of money, one, it's hard to control your temptations. And two, you feel like you have a target on your back, and you either decide to rise above it and not let that bother you, or you kind of crumble under the pressure. And just because you crumble under the pressure doesn't mean that you're crumbling for good. It just means that you're not doing what you should be doing. And you have to have faith in yourself and have faith in the process that you believe in. And for a lot of people, that's tough, because when you hit a speed bump, your whole mind goes into chaos for a lot of people. And, I'm one of those people. If I'm doing great at something and one little thing comes up, sometimes I can hyperanalyze it. And I can turn one tiny, tiny blemish on a, long-term record of success and allow that one blemish to feel like everything is a wash, everything was a waste, I'm not good enough, I can't do this anymore, I should quit, yada, yada, whatever, right? So it's hard, and especially when you got all these people looking at you and talking about you and all that stuff, it doesn't make it easier. So I believe in Ja. I think he's got a lot of potential. It's just a matter of if he can clean up the stuff going on off the court. And, to his credit, we haven't heard anything bad recently. We haven't heard anything bad after that last incident. So, hopefully he's going to prove us, that he's going to prove to us that he can be a leader and he can lead this Grizzlies team to the promised land and, do what he needs to do and prove that he was the right pick for the Grizzlies to make. Because that's what it is right now. He had a lot of hype, and then he had a lot of doubters, and now he's still got to work back a little bit to make sure that he's overcoming all that doubt, which I don't think he really gives a about. But, Ja is going to be Ja.